All right, today we're going over exactly what you should eat pre-workout, and it's all backed by science, and it is fucking fascinating. And I guarantee you're doing it wrong because I was too. F you, strawberry. Now, I'm sure just like me, you've gone too hard in the paint during a cheat meal, woke up the next morning and had the most painful, disgusting pumps during your training, but we can't do that every day because then we'll just end up looking like little fat Pillsbury workout boys. But there are some insights we can gain from those epic cheat meals that will help us optimize our pre-workout nutrition and put our muscles in a prime state to grow. To do that, we gotta go over exactly what happens when your muscle contracts. I think this is actually a whale's vagina. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that goes on, but here's a list of some of the major role players that we can actually have an impact on. And you thought that clenching your butt cheeks to stop a rogue fart was all about the mind-muscle connection. Turns out, there's a lot more to it than that. Nerves are what tell your muscle cells to contract. At rest, you have higher concentrations of sodium outside your muscle cell than inside, and higher potassium levels inside than outside. But when you contract, this reverses. And it's that beautiful scissoring ice-capades that's critical for nerve function. And that should be your aha moment. When you wake up in the morning, take a piss, and it's dark brown and burns like hell, that means that you're dehydrated and your dick's about to fall off, but also you can't gag down a gallon of water and expect there not to be consequences. And I get it. America, fuck yeah. The key is to replenish and balance those electrolytes throughout the day, but also supplement them prior to, during, and obviously after your training, because that's when they're most depleted. Unless you're me and you just sweat all the fucking time. I've never understood why people have these. I mean, why do you need a see-through little pocket here? The only thing I can think of is that you store a bunch of Polaroid dick pics and hand them out to random people. You lose anywhere from 500 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium as you train, as well as some potassium, magnesium, and blah, blah, blah. How do you know if you're somebody that sweats out 500 milligrams or closer to 2,000 and beyond? Well, does every hat you own look like it's got John Denver's beloved Rocky Mountains on it? You're on the higher end, you sick fuck. And I can't stress this enough. If you're not getting a pump when you train, it might not be the reason you think that you didn't carb up on enough kids' cuisine before you hit the gym. It's because your electrolytes are fucked. And it goes without saying, I'm talking directly to athletes and highly trained individuals. If you're somebody that plays Russian roulette with your heart every time you tug it, this isn't for you. To get back on the right track, all you need to do is find an electrolyte mix with the right ratios, and I'm not gonna even pretend like I remember what those are, so I'll just put them here. Bad news is there's a shitload of them, and most of them taste like crushed up Vicodin, so find ones that have enough sodium, potassium, and to a lesser extent, magnesium. Here's some options. This one's my favorite, but I hate to show it because you assholes always buy all of it. But if you're not gonna do that, at the very least, start adding sea salt to your water. Cool story, bro, but what about those delicious, delicious carbs? Well, you got three options, and it really depends on what your priority is. Whether you're trying to lose fat, build muscle, or you can do what I do. And I've already sweat through my shirt. When your primary goal is fat loss, obviously you want to maintain as much muscle as possible, but more than anything else, you want to lose that extra fat because you know when summer comes and that shirt comes off, your new girlfriend's going to see those glorious udders and she's gone. So you got to trim down those milky moobs ASAP. Then you should train carb depleted. That means you don't get any fucking carbs. Because when you do, you increase fat metabolism. And I know some people are going to push back on that, so I'll only pull from my own anecdotal experience. When I'm on an I hate everything, low carb, high protein diet, I lose fat at a faster rate. And when I do something really extreme, like train fasted first thing in the morning, the results are even better. So do with that what you will to help those udders. Would you look at that happy bastard? The next option is focusing your carbohydrate intake around your training, roughly 60 to 90 minutes before. That way you make sure you have enough muscle glycogen. And I know that sounds like a magical made-up word, but all muscle glycogen is a few glucose molecules going ass to ass, and that's how we store them in our muscles, and it's the energy source for a contraction. You burn roughly 1 gram of carbohydrates for every minute you train, so it leads you to believe that if you trained for 60 minutes, you only need to ingest 60 grams. Don't do that. Carbohydrates, or glucose, obviously plays other roles in your body, so when you take it in, some will go to your liver, some will make it to become muscle glycogen, and some will just piss off and float through your bloodstream like it's a goddamn lazy river. That's why you'll see that people that have done the research on this and are the experts will recommend that you need to take in 1 to 2 grams per kilogram before you train, which are numbers that I don't fucking understand. So I use 0.45 to 0.9 grams per pound, but I think you're safer staying on the side of 0.45 per pound. For me, that's around 100 grams. Now the question is, what kind of carbs should you take in? Well, you really only want two kinds, fructose and glucose, because they both have different rates of absorption, which provides both quicker and longer lasting forms of energy. Now, fructose is simply fruit, and some have higher concentrations than others, like apples, blueberries, grapes, bananas, which Also is a great source of potassium, and we already know that you suck at taking that electrolyte. And glucose comes from pretty much every other carb source, your rice, potatoes, oats, but I would choose the ones with the least amount of fiber. That way you don't slow down digestion. Your goal is to get them into your system so they're there when you need them, not to sit in your colon and slowly brew death farts. The best bet is get a fourth of your carbs from fruit and the other 3/4 from something easy on your stomach like a white rice. That way you don't cause too much gastrointestinal distress, i.e. back pee. Or you could do what I do, because I don't trust myself around them and I don't want to become a fat mess. I just have them when I train my lagging body part. And lastly, protein, and it's simpler than you think. It's there for protein synthesis, preventing damage, and recovery. All you need is to get those amino acids in your system. So if you train later in the day, it can come from a whole food source. Just make sure it's lower in fat so it also doesn't slow down digestion. But if you train first thing in the morning and you're limited on time, then you want to get it in your system as fast as possible, so you should take a protein shake. But remember this video, don't fall for that bullshit like beef protein isolate or some ridiculous concentrate that's marketed as the best thing ever. Get yourself an isolate, whether it's whey, pea protein, it doesn't matter. And the ratio should be 1:2. So if you're having 100 grams of carbs, you should have 50 grams of protein. What else is there? There's a lot of shit. If you want to build more muscle, programs are linked below. Fucking cockass.